So you just ordered yourself a nice new glass piece. Maybe you went to a local head shop and you picked up a brand new water pipe and you're not quite sure how much water goes in this brand new water pipe that you have. This is a very common problem for a lot of people. There's a lot of people that ask around. I've seen many people in my Twitch stream come in, hey bro, I got a new piece. I don't know how much water to put in it. And well, I've got a lot of glass, and over the years I've developed a little bit of a system that I use, and any new piece I get, it's really easy to determine how much water goes in it. You just have to do a little bit of trial and error. Now, this is really interesting for me because I was looking on Reddit the other day and I saw somebody post a picture of a rig and it said, hey, I got a new rig. How much water do I put in it? And I can just imagine this person sitting there waiting at their phone or their computer for all the replies, and they're hoping that somebody's going to tell them the right thing. And it's crazy to me because I have the same piece. It's like an RBR rig, a little refined bell recycler. And it took me all but like 20 seconds to figure out how much water to put in it. I eyeballed it. I put in how much I thought would go in there. I pulled on it, splashed in my mouth a little bit, poured a little bit out, and it was perfect. Took me 20 seconds, and I'm just wondering, did it take this person as long to figure it out? I hope they got it solved. I hope they got it figured out. But anytime I get a new piece, I don't need to look up how much water goes in it. Some pieces will say on the box, you know, put this amount of water in there. And a lot of the times it's pretty accurate, but it's never exact. That's one thing that you have to know about how much water goes into a piece. The majority of pieces out there, there's no perfect amount. There's no exact amount that you got to use. In a lot of cases, you could put a little bit more in the piece or a little bit less in the piece, and it's not really going to affect your hits. There are some pieces out there that need a very, very specific amount. A lot of recyclers. I have a couple where if you put just a few drops too much water in it, it's going to splash in your mouth. And if you don't have enough water in it, like a few drops too few, it's not going to percolate, or it's going to spurt and not give you like a smooth pull. But most pieces, I have a lot of pieces. Most pieces, the amount of water that goes in it can vary. So when you're going to fill your piece, there's a few goals that you have in mind. You want percolation so your hits are smoother. You don't want water to splash into your mouth, especially as it gets dirtier and dirtier, that water is going to get nasty. And you want a nice smooth pull. Some pieces you can get the first two things, but you put too much water in it, it's kind of a hard piece to pull. It gives you like a heavy pull. You got to break through a lot of water to get the percolation. So with that in mind, there's a little bit of trial and error that comes into play. You want to test your water levels out when your piece is like clean, right? When you're right after you clean it, or if it's a brand new piece, you're going to want to kind of figure it out, and then you'll know for later, especially if you use the piece a lot. Or if you forget, you can always just do the method again. It doesn't take that long to figure out. But there's a little bit of trial and error involved. Most pieces, if it has like a single percolator, the water level that you would use is just slightly above the percolator. If you have like a straight tube with a disc in it, a lot of the times the water is going to go right above the disc or in line with it. Some pieces, the water level is supposed to be under, but most of the time, in most cases, what I've seen is you put the water level right above, especially like a disc perk. If you have multi-chambers of percolation, you want to make sure that you're not putting too much in it to where you fill the whole bottom. Some of them have separate water chambers where they're each going to get their own bubble action. Some of them are designed to pull up in and then they kind of trickle down after. Some pieces recycle so the water flow is constant and you get the same continuous pull the whole time. But any piece you have, just start off filling it slowly. All right, go to the sink. You don't have any flour. You're not lighting it or anything yet. You want to pull on it. You want to put how much water you think is in there and pull on it and decide, is this like a really hard pull? Is it splashing into my mouth? If you go to pull on it with no bowl and you're just getting water instantly in your mouth, there's probably too much in it. But one thing that you need to consider when you're doing your water test is you don't have a nail or you don't have a bowl on it typically when you're doing just like plain water tests in front of the sink. When you have a nail or a bowl on your rig or your piece, whatever you're using, that affects the airflow. So you want to take that into account. And what I usually do is I put my thumb halfway over the joint or wherever you would put the bowl with the nail. I just kind of cover it halfway with my thumb or my finger. That way I'm restricting the airflow and I'm getting closer to what I would get when I have like a nail with a carb cap on or when I have like a cherried bowl in there or something. It's going to be more restricted when I have something that I'm actually smoking. So I want to take that into account and pull it like you would hit the piece. If it's like a piece that you're going to use for combusted flower hits, pull it hard. Give it a nice big pull initially. If it splashes up right away, maybe there's too much. If you're testing the water on a dab rig, you're going to want to do like a nice low, slow pull. Dab rigs, you don't pull as hard as like a flower piece where you're going to be doing a combusted rib with a lighter. A dab is a bit slower. You're going to do like a low, slow pull. So do that on your piece. If it's not percolating, you might be able to put more water in it. I could take the same piece and I'm going to have a different water level depending on if I do combusted flower rips or dabs. Sometimes, like I said earlier, the water level can vary. There's no exact amount. Sometimes the amount of water you put in is based on how hard you're going to pull it. So really test out the water or test out the piece as if you were hitting it. That way, when you go to put a bowl on it or when you go to do a dab on it, you're not getting a completely different pull than when you were testing it at the sink. But keep in mind, at the end of the hit, you're going to clear it. If you're doing a combusted rip, you're going to pull the bowl off, or you might be pulling the cab off if you do a dab, and you're going to increase the airflow. So while you do want to test it with your thumb over the hole or blocking the airflow a little bit, test the full hit. So if you're going to clear it or if you're going to pull the bowl off and clear it, make sure that when you pull your thumb off and you let more air through, that it doesn't splash into your mouth. So something else I got to mention, I did talk about multiple percolators or pieces with multiples. Not all pieces work how they're designed. This is something that you gotta know. You could be trying all these steps to get the piece just right, and then you find out, you know what, this is just some cheap china glass piece that they made that doesn't actually have the function it looks like it should have. That's very common. I have that with some of my pieces. I've seen a lot of pieces where there's 3 percolators, and the first 2 on the bottom of the piece work really well, but then the higher up one either doesn't work at all, or if it works, you're gonna definitely get water splashing in your mouth, because that's the only way to make it perk. So not all pieces are perfect. Not all hits are the same. Most pieces, there's no perfect amount of water. But once you learn that, once you've tested it out on a few pieces, it's really easy to adapt to a new piece and put the amount of water that you need into it. You're really just pulling on it to see, am I getting nice, smooth percolation? Yes. Is it splashing in my mouth? No. And then you're good to go. If it's really hard to pull, maybe you could pour some water out. But if you pour water out and you don't get the smooth percolation anymore, then maybe that's just a hard piece to pull. Either way, come get high with me on Twitch. I do a smoke sesh at 9 p.m. Eastern every night. If you have Amazon Prime, you can actually support me for free. So pop over to the Twitch and find out how. And if you never saw the time that I had munchies from Korea, check out this video right here. Did you know they have milk and yogurt flavored soda?